Hey guys, let's get more news from Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Arthur Smith's first interview may have hinted Steelers have made QB decision. Fans of the Pittsburgh Steelers have spent the early portion of the NFL offseason waiting to learn what the team will do about their quarterback situation. They may have gotten an answer over the weekend. On February 3, Arthur Smith gave his first interview as the offensive coordinator for the Steelers. In the interview with Steelers.com's Missy Matthews, Smith talked about building a relationship with Kenny Pickett, referring to him as the quarterback. "There's a relationship that's got to be built between me and Kenny," Smith said. "And that's so paramount between the play caller and the quarterback. The quarterback is obviously the one out there between the white lines, and there's a trust that's going to be built daily, and it goes both ways. I've got to earn Kenny's trust and vice versa as we build this offense and all the things we want to work on, and we want him to work on and take command of this offense." Perhaps just as importantly, the Pittsburgh Tribune Review's Tim Benz pointed out that Mason Rudolph wasn't mentioned a single time in the interview. The comments on Pickett and lack of a mention of Rudolph has led to the belief that Pickett may already be considered the QB1 for the Steelers despite the team having said in the past that there would be a competition. The first 2 seasons of Pickett's career have been disappointing for the Steelers. While he has earned a record of 7-5 as a starter in both seasons, his performances haven't been as strong as his record. He has thrown just 13 touchdowns in his 24 starts while throwing 13 interceptions. He also averages less than 200 passing yards per game in his starts. Now it looks like the Steelers are going to give him one more season to prove that he deserves to remain their starter going further. The pressure is on for Pickett, though. The Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2016, and both the fans and ownership are growing impatient. Rudolph was able to lead the team to the playoffs with 3 consecutive wins to close out the regular season, but fell short in the playoffs. It showed that he isn't the answer to end the Steelers' drought, but if Pickett proves to also not be the answer in 2024, the Steelers will find themselves looking for a new QB in 2025. If Rudolph isn't a part of the Steelers' plans, they'll need to find somebody else to serve as the backup to Pickett. We saw that Mitch Trubisky isn't the answer during the 2023 season. That will leave them searching the free agent market for their backup. Ryan Tannehill has become an obvious choice since Smith was hired. He was Smith's QB for 2 years in Tennessee and has reached the end of his time as a starter in the NFL, but could be a good insurance plan for the Steelers. Washington Commanders QB Jacoby Brissett has come up, with Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox calling him a good bargain bin option. He has a lot of experience as both a backup and a starter and could provide competition for Pickett while not really being a threat to take his job. Sam Darnold is also an interesting option who played the best football of his career last season when he had the opportunity to start for the Panthers. He has his own experience as a disappointing first-round QB, but could give the Steelers future options. They'll need to consider what next year looks like if Pickett disappoints, but they still manage to hover around .500. Darnold at least gives them an option if Pickett isn't the answer and they can't get their hands on a franchise QB in 2025. If the Steelers really have landed on Pickett as their QB1 for 2024, then what they do for a backup will become one of the most important decisions they make the rest of the offseason. Steelers floated as potential landing spot for former young phenom QB. The Pittsburgh Steelers likely won't be in position to draft a quarterback in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. So, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Ray Fittipaldo ran through the team's other mid-round quarterback options in this year's draft. Fittipaldo suggested South Carolina quarterback Spencer Rattler as a potential target. Rattler was a young phenom, throwing for 116 touchdowns on his way to becoming the consensus number 1 quarterback in the 2019 recruiting class, Fittipaldo wrote on February 2. 5 years later, after a tumultuous college career, he's clinging to his dream of playing in the NFL. Fittipaldo paired the Steelers and Rattler as a possible match because of the team's obvious need at quarterback. Even if the Steelers sign a free agent signal caller to compete with Kenny Pickett, Pittsburgh could still target a quarterback in the draft for depth. It appears the Steelers will need to add 1 and maybe 2 quarterbacks to the mix this spring, Fittipaldo wrote. One of them could come through the draft, although spending an early pick on a quarterback doesn't seem plausible given their draft position and the other positions where they need more immediate help. Taking one on day 2 or day 3 of the draft is more reasonable. Rattler and a couple of other quarterbacks could be in range for the Steelers in the middle rounds of the draft. Rattler posted a 68.9% completion percentage with 3,186 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions during the 2023 season. The Steelers have clearly liked having 3 quarterbacks on their roster since they drafted Pickett. Although the team could cut Mitch Trubisky and lose Mason Rudolph in free agency, Fittipaldo anticipates the Steelers sticking with 3 active signal callers. Rattler wouldn't bring starter experience as Pittsburgh's 3 quarterbacks did in 2023. But he could provide middle-round upside after going through a difficult college career. I think, being a quarterback, you're going to see adversity at some point in your career, and I'm happy I got to experience that early in college, Rattler said at the Senior Bowl, via Fittipaldo. Being in 3 different systems and 2 big-time conferences helps a lot. I feel like I'm ahead of the curve. I still have a lot of work to do. I never want to get complacent, but I'm confident in where I'm headed. Despite that adversity, Rattler posted a 68.5% completion percentage with more than 10,000 passing yards in his college career. He also had 77 touchdowns and 32 interceptions. Targeting a quarterback on day 3 of the draft and hoping he's the next Dak Prescott is easier said than done. Over the past decade, it's hard to find examples of successful quarterbacks taken on day 2 of the draft, let alone day 3. The most recent example of that would obviously be Brock Purdy, who was a 7th-round pick in 2022. But Purdy works with some of the best offensive playmakers in the league and offensive guru Kyle Shanahan. The Steelers and other teams can't aim to replicate that for their young signal callers. For every day 3 quarterback who experiences some success in the league, there's at least another 3 or 4 who don't. For that reason, drafting Rattler would come with risk. He may not inspire a lot of excitement either, judging that he severely underachieved as the former number 1 overall recruit in the country. It's hard to envision the Steelers upgrading their quarterback room by taking a flyer on a signal caller who posted a losing record his senior year of college. Steelers hiring Hines Ward as new coach? The Pittsburgh Steelers have parted ways with wide receiver coach Frisman Jackson, leaving another vacancy in their offensive coaching staff. And immediately, one name popped up for who the team should hire. After the news of Jackson, former Super Bowl MVP Hines Ward's name became the hottest topic of conversation amongst the fanbase, radio shows, and media outlets. Are the Steelers going to hire Ward? Did they move on from Jackson to create a spot for Hines? Maybe. But probably not. Ward has the resume to be given a shot in the NFL as something more than an offensive assistant, which is what he worked as the last time he was in the pros. But that doesn't mean the Steelers are going to be the team looking to add him to their coaching staff. Instead, this feels more like a vacancy created so Arthur Smith could bring in some talent and build his staff. There has already been one name the team has on their mind in doing so. It's another opportunity to shoot for the stars for the Steelers, and Ward may not be the prospect they're searching for. And you fan, what do you think of the Hines Ward situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.